Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Super Breakfast Friends Club.
The show that we do when we remember to do it.
It's Saturday morning. Get your cereal.
Do I have to? What if I want eggs for cereal?
Eggs aren't cereal. You disgusting...
You can't tell me how to live my life.
Well, I can, but you're not obligated to listen.
If I can feed my Snorlax a salad that is 90% milk, I think I can eat eggs that are 90% milk.
I guess that's true.
That's cereal. That's how you make cereal. You just make it milk.
Okay.
I hate this show.
Speaking of eggs, play the theme song.
Donkey Kong!
So, I still love this theme song. It's weird, but I love it.
I do love it. I had to skip it, though, because I watched it, like, first thing in the morning. I was like, I don't got time for this.
So you didn't hear the theme song?
No.
So we're making our audience sit through the theme song and you skipped it?
Yeah, they could skip it, too. We can't stop them.
Don't listen to her. This episode is called Ape Foo Young.
Why?
It seems to come from Egg Foo Young, which is a Chinese omelet dish, but I don't know why.
Because the whole time I swore I had a brain lapse or something. I was like, did that say Kong Too Young? I swear that said Kong Fu Young, but what? That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. This episode first aired September 25th, 1996 in France, and September 9th, 1998 in America.
I always forget how old this show is.
I know, and then it was like 2 years between the French release and the US release.
Yeah, that was cutting-edge graphics for 1996.
It sure was. Well, because that was the whole thing with this show, wasn't it? That it was like, it was like a brand new kind of animation because it was all motion capture.
Yeah.
They were making people put on suits and wiggle around.
Wiggle and woogle to be a monkey.
Yeah, this was written by Nadine van der Velde, who has written every episode we've looked at so far. She didn't write every episode of the show, so it's just a coincidence that we happen to keep watching her work.
I don't know why. I'm the one that keeps requesting that we go back to Donkey Kong because the show is incredible and I will not hear slander. But I always forget that this show is like a musical.
Yeah, it's weird.
Every time somebody starts singing, it's so jarring.
Yeah, so we open up with Cranky singing again.
For no reason.
For no reason. What was he even singing about? I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I just watched it.
I don't think it was about anything important.
Right, because with musicals, usually what they're singing about is relevant to the plot and, like, moves it forward. But this, it doesn't.
You say you gotta be young to rock, but Cranky's gonna show you how to walk the walk. I'll show you moves that you've never seen, and take you to places you've never been. I know you're thinking that I'm much too old, but when they meet Cranky, they broke the mold.
It's about nothing, it starts nowhere, and it's just an excuse for King K. Rool to sneak in and steal the crystal coconut again.
Yep. As he is wont to do.
It's Isn't this exactly what happened in the last episode?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, as he walks away from his piano and starts dancing, the Kremlings are running around outside his window being creeps. And they just kind of bust in and demand the crystal coconut.
Yeah, there's no real strategy here other than beating up an old man.
They don't even beat him up.
Oh yeah, they just string him up on a statue and he can't move.
Yeah, because he's hurt his back doing his dance.
Yeah, old people.
K. Rool has the coconut in his possession almost. He's just seconds away from grabbing it with his hands when Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong show up, looking to borrow a vacuum from Cranky.
Were you as confused about this scene as I was?
Yes, because there's no reason that Cranky couldn't tell them what's happening.
There's no reason Cranky couldn't tell them that the house was full of Kremlings and DK should beat them up.
So the Kremlings all hide, and DK and Diddy come in, and they're just talking the whole time about how they want to borrow a vacuum. And Cranky spends the whole time grumbling about how stupid they are for not noticing the Kremlins. And it's like, just tell them.
Gotta lemon your vacuum cleaner, Cranky. Candy's coming over for lunch.
His place is a mess, a total sty.
Where do you keep it? Closet? Of course!
Cupboard? I'll check the cupboard.
Nincompoops, the
Kitchen! I'll scan the kitchen.
dopes, a couple of big dopes.
You know it would help them notice the Kremlins, Cranky Kong.
You could just
So
mention it.
Right, all of the Kremlings sneak out, including K. Rool, who had been flattened by the door.
Oh, yeah. I kind of thought that Flat K. Rool was terrifying.
I loved it. Remember the creepy
Castle
cardboard?
boss.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it made me think of as well in Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah.
Which
That guy was great.
That was one of my favorite bosses in that game because it made me
So
laugh so
different.
much.
Yeah.
It's the noises he made when he popped up.
I imagine you're going to put all of the noises right here.
Oh yeah, of course. So the Kremlings leave, Donkey Kong leaves with the vacuum, and none the wiser that there were ever any Kremlings there.
Right. Because Cranky still hasn't said a word, and he just waits until gravity drags him back down to Earth to whine.
The crystal coconut, opens up, and a young Cranky ghost comes out of it for some reason.
Yeah, the powers of the crystal coconut are dubious and ill-defined.
At best, yeah. I think that they just took Bluster's model and edited it.
Yeah.
I think they took Bluster's model, they took the hair and the mustache off it, and they gave him a cane and some glasses. And then they said, this is young Cranky. Because they are very economical with the models in this show. I know when we did the first episode, I found that interview where they talked about how they couldn't request many new models to be used. So they had to come up with
Right.
stories that just reused what was already there.
And I mean, they do what they can with what they got. It's not bad. You don't need a huge cast of characters.
No. So Cranky gets mocked by his younger self for a little bit, and then he decides to make himself a potion to make him feel young again.
I was very confused by this scene as well, because the premise leading up to it is that young Cranky says that he's the funny one, and because Cranky has tried to make a joke and failed, and Cranky insists that he is the funny one and goes to make a potion out of random things. It was weird.
It was weird.
Didn't he say he was gonna, fix himself something to eat?
He said I don't know. He said he was going to make a potion to make himself feel young. And then I wrote down all the ingredients that they said were going in the potion.
Oh, please tell us.
Mac and cheese, jelly beans, a cat's cradle, chocolate syrup. I wasn't sure about this one, but it sounded like it said ground grass,
Okay.
dehydrated cookie batter, and powdered yo-yos.
So there's Cat's Cradle and yo-yos?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds redundant.
Yeah, it does a little bit.
Apparently it largely tastes like yo-yo.
Yeah, DK does say that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Those are all things I like, not necessarily to eat.
No.
But I guess they're all trying to sound like things that kids like.
I guess. No marbles? No shooting marbles?
No, well, it's very specifically 90s kid things because the yo-yos are in there.
Cranky would not have been a kid in the 90s.
That's true. You got a good point there. So he shouldn't have been putting yo-yos in at all, really.
He should be shooting marbles and kicking cans.
Yeah.
What else do old-timey folks do?
The hoop with the stick.
Stickball.
I don't even know what that hoop is about.
I don't know, but it's got a stick.
Anyway, Cranky drinks his potion and he gets young. And then ghost young Cranky goes away for the rest of the episode.
Good, that guy was weird.
And then he heads out to find K. Rool. I mean, this is the point. There's a lot of weird things that happen in this episode. This is the point, I think, where they were still... Because I found that interview that talked about how they had to get rid of the original writers because the stuff they had written was, like, racist.
Right.
And the new writers came in and they had to write new stories, but they were beholden to some of the animation work that had already been started.
Right. I forgot that they had to completely redo it after it had already been done.
Yeah, so they were probably writing a story around what animation work had been done here.
Yeah, because
So some of it doesn't quite make sense.
this show, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't even know how to talk about this show because the writing, it isn't good, but there are parts of it where it's like, it's genuinely funny. I laughed a couple times.
Yes, there were a couple jokes in this episode that got me. And I'll call them out as we get to them
Like
because they were good.
Yeah, there's a competent writer in here, but just working within a really terrible framework.
That's the thing. I'm wondering, like Nadine van der Velde. I know I looked her up for the first episode. I think she had written some like Nancy Drew and stuff, if I remember rightly. But she's not bad. I think she's just handicapped by what she was given to work with here. But the parts where she gets to like slip in a joke or two are actually really funny.
Yeah.
So DK's vacuuming his house. He's kind of running around the house. He's not going that fast, but he walks straight through a wall.
Yeah. He's acting like he's racing cars, but he's kind of moving at a steady pace and through a wall.
Yeah, the fact that he's moving at that steady pace makes it feel really strange when he goes through the wall, leaving the shape of himself in it.
The only reason we know that he's going fast at all is because of Diddy's commentary.
Yeah. But didn't it feel weird, like, as he passes through the wall, it wasn't happening fast enough, there was no impact there.
Yeah.
He just kind of like, it was like the wall was made of, like, butter or something.
Yeah, it's like a paper wall, and he just walks right through it.
Yeah, even a paper wall would have put up more resistance than that wall did, I think.
That's true.
But he falls from the treehouse and breaks the vacuum. Not really for any reason. Again, I think this only happens because they had the footage.
Right. Because it's just an excuse to get them back into Cranky's house.
Yeah.
Because now they have to go there while the youth potion is afoot.
Well, we head back to K. Rool here for a sec, and this is one of the parts that I laughed at. Because they're trying to come up with a new strategy, and they're looking at a map of the island, and K. Rool just says,
This is our strategy. We are here, and the crystal coconut is there.
And then they're all like, oh, yes, I see, and then that's it.
Yeah. Like
That's
he
all there
said
is to
something
it.
really profound.
It's like they've just learned that.
Yeah. Like, K. Rool goes in, knowing full well it's just the same strategy as always.
Yeah. But then Cranky shows up. Young Cranky is here. I'm not sure who's doing the voice for Young Cranky here.
It wasn't clear.
No, I couldn't find any listing of it. I'm assuming it's probably just Aaron Tager who plays regular Cranky.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is, he's got pretty good range. He sounds
Yeah.
pretty different.
They sound like completely different people.
Come on, you ooze-sucking pond gex. I'm in the mood to wrestle a couple of overgrown newts.
Cranky gets captured immediately.
Yeah, he goes in without a strategy and immediately is beset by Kremlings.
Yeah, they just take him down an elevator that he's
Yep.
conveniently standing on.
Well, the thing is, he wasn't. Like, he was standing in front of it, but then in the next scene, he's on it.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
Because we see the elevator rising behind him that's bringing up the reinforcements.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I guess they just tricked him to stand on it.
I guess if 3 guys are aiming guns at you, you might as well stand on the elevator.
Back at Cranky's house, DK and Diddy show up with the broken vacuum. And when Cranky isn't home, they decide they're just going to hide it. and there's the end of that.
Which is a mood.
Yeah.
Just hope for the best.
Yeah. And but before they leave, DK wants a banana, as is his general state of being. But there's no bananas in the refrigerator. There's only Cranky's potion.
Yeah, still in a beaker, so you know. It looks like something you should definitely put in your mouth.
Yeah, I love that DK sees it and he's just like, oh, drink this. Do you want to try some, Diddy? So DK drinks it and becomes a baby, which Diddy doesn't notice.
No, they walk home together and Diddy has no idea what has happened. He never once looks behind him.
That's what made it so funny, because, like, next scene, Diddy's back at the treehouse, and this is where he notices that DK's turned into a baby. Which means that they have walked all the way from Cranky's house to DK's house, which is quite far. You cannot see these two houses from each other. Cranky's house is in the forest, and DK's house is on the beach. So they've walked all the way from the forest to the beach in complete silence without looking at each other once.
That's the weird part, because usually when Diddy and DK are together, they're small talking. They're buddies.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
So, Diddy was just really annoyed by the offer to drink that potion, and he was just fuming about it the whole way home.
Maybe he was really anxious about the vacuum cleaner.
Maybe. But it's funny, like, when they get there and he notices the baby and he can't find DK, it's like, he was right behind me.
Whose
How do you know
baby
that,
is
Diddy?
this?
It's been a long time since you've spoken, apparently. How did you know he was right behind you?
It could have been anyone back there.
Diddy doesn't realize that the baby is Donkey Kong until the baby says Banana Slammer.
The baby is literally wearing a pair of briefs with DK on it.
Did you notice? So this is the second episode that they made. The first episode being the one where DK's hair was cut.
Yeah.
And we had that horrible missing, his skull shaped like the hair on his head. Baby DK has the exact opposite situation going on.
What do you mean?
Well, his whole head is bald, except for the part that was bald on DK in Bad Hair Day.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant that the head bump wasn't there. I was like, no, the head bump was there. It's just the only part that had hair on it.
Yeah, it's just that this time that's the only part with hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is better, at least.
Agreed.
Also, did you notice that Baby Kong is bigger than Diddy Kong?
Yeah.
Really cements Diddy as a freak among his people, doesn't it? Because it's very unclear how old Diddy is supposed to be. I assume he's supposed to be a kid. Although he does not sound like one.
Like some kind of preteen, maybe.
Yeah, I think in the French version he is played by a real child, but we've got the guy who played Yoshi in Super Mario World here.
We've got a literal shrieking monkey.
Yeah. And to me, he sounds like... Diddy just always gives the impression of just being a small adult man in this show.
Yeah.
And then having this baby show up, literal baby show up and be bigger than him. It tickled me. It was funny.
Diddy is a small man in stature and personality.
Baby Kong is played by Joy Tanner, who's also playing Candy in this show. So
a lot of conversations with herself.
Yep, and it means this episode has no new voice actors for me to talk about. We've covered them all.
We assume.
Speaking of Candy...
Here she comes!
Here she comes. She shows up with a triple layer cake. Banana, banana, and banana.
Why is she always carrying cakes?
Is she always carrying cakes?
Not always, but I think in the DK birthday episode, she had a cake.
Maybe that's just her thing. I mean, I don't recognize this character as Candy because she's never looked anything like this in any of the games.
I know. Anytime I think about this show, I can't remember who that is.
Yeah. It feels like it's a new character. Because I don't like Candy Kong anyway.
Yeah.
But when I'm thinking about, like, the closest Candy Kong has ever come to me liking her design, I think, was Donkey Kong 64. And all the others, I'm just like, don't put this in my eyes.
I didn't ask for this, Nintendo.
Yeah. Why is she the only Kong who has just a full human body?
It's weird.
Weird.
This big booby monkey all up in my business.
Anyway, Diddy's trying to stall Candy because she's here for her date with Donkey Kong.
But Candy is convinced that DK is blowing her off again because that's something he does frequently.
But she's just always mad at him.
That's true.
They have a strange relationship in this show.
One might go so far as to call it toxic.
Yeah, because in the games, I think we are told that she's DK's girlfriend, but we never really see them interact.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's like, okay, yeah, we're a couple, but don't speak to me. You only ever interact with Candy in the same way that any other Kong would interact with her.
They keep it professional while he's out saving the world.
They do. I think the only reason we know they're a thing is because he has pictures of her up in his treehouse.
Maybe he's just a stalker.
Oh, possibly.
If he's just infatuated.
Well, I think the real problem is that we know that all he cares about is bananas.
That's true.
He's in the games, he's not really that interested in having a girlfriend. He just wants his bananas back.
If they tried to pull a Mario and kidnap Candy, he just wouldn't leave the house.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess they've never used her as a damsel in distress. He's always just trying to reclaim his bananas. Every single game, it's his bananas that have been kidnapped.
She's capable enough of taking care of herself.
K. Rool correctly identified that if he really wants to get under DK's skin, he doesn't need to bother with the girlfriend. He just needs to get that banana horde. That's something that's like weird about this show, right? Because they obviously knew that they needed K. Rool to be trying to get something.
Mm-hmm.
So they created the crystal coconut to be the MacGuffin that K. Rool wants.
Right.
Why isn't he just after the banana horde like he normally is?
Because the island is covered in bananas, so how's he gonna steal them all?
That's a good point. I don't think that DK even has a banana horde in the show.
No, bananas just live hither, thither, and yon.
Even though it's such a big part of DK's,
Personality?
Yeah. Like every game that starts you off at DK's house, you can usually go into the cave that houses the banana horde and take a look at where they should be.
That is kind of a weird thing now that I think about it.
What, that they left it out?
No, just having a banana horde in a cave.
Because in the first Donkey Kong Country, when you first leave DK's house, you can make a left and head into the cave, and then you get that little cutscene where he sees that the banana horde is gone, and he just covers his eyes and screams.
He's devastated.
And then you can, in DK64 as well, you can go in the cave and see the empty banana horde.
Bananas don't keep for a very long time. So this isn't like a Scrooge McDuck scenario.
Yeah, that's how you know that he's eaten a lot of bananas all the time.
I don't know how they can keep up with his demand. He's single-handedly gonna make the banana go extinct.
Well, they have to grow a lot of them.
They do live on an island of just banana trees.
Anyway, back to what was happening in the show.
Oh yeah, the show.
So Candy comes up into the treehouse and she sees Baby Kong, and Diddy tells her that that's DK's nephew. Candy says that she didn't know he had one. I'm pretty sure that at this point, the games had been calling Diddy Donkey Kong's nephew.
That's kind of what I thought.
I know there's been some confusion about that since. I know that I don't think that Diddy is considered DK's nephew anymore. I think he's just considered his best friend now. But I swear, like, I remember when I was a kid, I remember them calling him DK's nephew. And at least I checked into it, and at least the DK64 manual calls him his nephew.
So we're not just crazy and senile.
No, because I'm sure I remember them calling him his nephew before Donkey Kong 64 as well. Because when I was a kid, I just always knew that he was Donkey Kong's nephew.
The legacy of this episode is that it was retconned that Diddy is his nephew.
Yeah. Well, no, not yet, because DK64 came after this and called him his
The
nephew.
legacy of this episode.
Oh, there is a legacy. Don't you worry.
Is it Baby Kong?
We'll get to it. Anyway, we see K. Rool trying to figure out who the hell they've captured.
Yeah.
Well, who is he?
None of my sources have seen or heard of him before.
Really? A rogue, a renegade, an upstart.
I thought that was funny. They've got this ape, but he doesn't know who the hell it is. It doesn't look like Cranky. Diddy decides to leave Baby Kong with Candy while he goes to Cranky for help.
Oh my god, this part, it nearly murdered me.
Which part specifically?
This whole section, starting with Diddy Kong swinging through the vines that they didn't animate. It's just Diddy Kong floating through the forest, singing a song about how great he is.
The time has come for me to help DK swing into action and finally save the day. Everybody see what I can do, 'cause it's Diddy to the rescue.
And then he gets, what?
No, there's another bit before that.
Oh, what is it?
Because the Kremlings capture Cranky first. And we get to hear their marching song again.
Hip, hop, what you got?
A big fat butt.
Yeah.
They're riding around in minecarts in the Kremling base, and there's no explanation for how Cranky got free.
Yeah.
He's just suddenly loose and riding a minecart for some reason.
Okay, I thought I had missed something, but I'm glad it was just as crazy as it sounds.
Yeah, no, you didn't miss anything. I even went back to check that I hadn't missed something. No, he's just free. There's no explanation. He's just riding minecarts in the base.
He's not free for long, don't worry.
Yeah, he turns back into his old self, so at least we know that the potion is temporary now.
Yeah, that's all that scene serves to show us.
Cranky offers K. Rool the youth potion in exchange for his freedom, but K. Rool only wants the crystal coconut. And then this is where Diddy's song happens. And you're right, it's wild.
It's wild, because he's singing about how great he is, and then he gets to Cranky's and sees the place being ransacked and then just tries to leave.
Yes! I thought this was actually funny. Like, he's singing this whole song about how everyone's gonna see what a hero he is, and then he gets to Cranky's, looks in the window, sees it's full of Kremlings, and he just goes, I don't want to be a hero this much, and leaves.
I can do most anything that Donkey Kong can do. Don't take too much to get me excited. Get out of my way, 'cause Diddy's coming through.
At last, I am all powerful, the supreme leader, the grand poobah of evil. Open it at once, or I'll roast you for lunch.
Yikes! I don't want to be a hero that bad.
We already knew that he was gonna fail as a hero. We watched Kong for a day.
We sure did.
Diddy fails to step up at every opportunity.
I kind of like that about him in this. I don't think it's accurate to Game Diddy. I think Game Diddy would quite happily. I mean, we saw that Game Diddy would step up if DK wasn't there. That's literally what Donkey Kong Country 2. Yeah, literally what Donkey Kong Country 2 is about. He would just grab his girlfriend and go.
Cartoon Diddy is the worst.
Yeah, he sucks. Also, K. Rool was like demanding Cranky open up the globe so he can get the crystal coconut, and Cranky's refusing to do it. But K. Rool opened it on his own earlier in the same episode.
Yeah. Are we to assume it was just already in the process of opening or something?
I don't know, because Cranky was just singing and dancing.
True. Like, in the past, they've made it a point that he didn't know where it was, but by now he knows it's in the globe.
Yeah, we're on episode 2 now. He knows where it is. It might as well not be in that globe anymore.
Yeah, just leave it out in the open.
Oh, well, except apparently he can't open the globe on his own sometimes.
Foiled again. It's the sometimes time.
Dang it, this time it's not opening. Meanwhile, Candy has taken the baby to work with her.
Yeah.
The baby who she doesn't know who this baby belongs to. She doesn't know where it came from, and she's taken it to work.
Well, she got stuck with the baby and then she had to get back to work. She was only there to have a date with DK on her lunch break.
Yeah, I guess it was just a lunch date
Yeah,
that she had brought an entire cake to.
Would have been irresponsible of her to just leave a baby.
I would have just not gone to work, but I'm always looking for an excuse to not go to work.
Maybe it's because Bluster's always looking for an excuse to fire her.
No, I don't think he would fire her because she seems to be his only employee.
True.
And if she's not there, who would he sexually harass?
The barrels. Like, he tries to penalize her for baby talking on the clock.
Yeah, and for being 3 minutes and 46 seconds late.
Yeah.
He's been counting down to the seconds. But last episode, we saw that all he seems to do around this factory is sexually harass her, so...
Yeah, he owns it. That he doesn't have to do anything.
So the baby disappears while Candy is making her excuses for being late. And he's just in a barrel on the conveyor belt for a sec.
Yeah, as babies are wont to do.
But she gets him off it pretty quickly, puts him in this barrel crib and closes it.
That's a good place for baby to sleep, in a small enclosed container.
Which you cannot see inside of without opening it. Cranky's ghost shows up.
Oh, I forgot the ghost showed up.
Yeah, what? I want to know what K. Rool is seeing while Cranky's ghost is here.
Right, because, like, he's using the coconut phone to call Candy, but K. Rool and his pals are just standing around watching him, trying to get him to open it. So, like, what?
Yeah. Also, like, I want to know who he connected to. Like, did he try to connect to Donkey Kong but couldn't get through?
How would he not be able to get through?
Or maybe he did connect to Donkey Kong, but Candy was there, so then he just spoke to Candy. I don't know.
Maybe.
Because obviously Donkey Kong is here as a baby right now, so...
Yeah. It would be weird for Candy to be the first person he thought to call.
Yeah. Since she really doesn't seem to like him.
Or have the ability to stop King K. Rool.
Cranky says he's looking for Donkey Kong. Candy doesn't know where he is. And she tells him about the whole Baby Kong thing. Cranky knows that Donkey Kong doesn't have a nephew and recognizes Donkey Kong's features on the baby, but then decides it must be a coincidence and just goes away.
Right! Still no one is the wiser about this clearly Donkey Kong baby.
Yeah. And then, apropos of nothing, Baby Kong starts mashing buttons on the control panel at the barrel factory and hops on the conveyor belt.
Baby Kong this whole time has just been reciting Candy's name, so I think it's just he's still, as a baby, enamored by Candy and getting out of bed to, I don't know, be annoying.
That's what babies are all about, I guess.
That's what boyfriends are all about.
Getting out of bed to be annoying.
Yes! Am I wrong?
I wouldn't know. Diddy shows up at the factory while Candy's looking for the baby. I love that Diddy got on the conveyor belt and he just gets, like, stomped by this piston.
Yeah, I assume it's putting some kind of Bluster Barrel Works seal on the top.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen it.
Yeah, that's too much animation.
When he gets to the end of the conveyor belt, there are barrels coming off it, and they are just going wild.
There is no soft place for these to land. There's no order. They are flailing hither, thither, and yon.
Yeah, they are bouncing everywhere. There's a huge scorch mark on the ground for some reason. I don't know what that was about.
That's where the interplanetary laser had left a scar.
And then we go back to K. Rool, who has the crystal coconut, and then, for no reason, Baby Kong's barrel just rolls into Cranky's house. There is no connecting thread here. We last saw it on a conveyor belt at the barrel factory, and now it's coming through the front door of Cranky's house.
Yeah.
Which is very clearly not in a even close location.
There's a lot of loosey-goosey threads.
The barrel factory is on a beach, and Cranky's house is in the treetops of a misty forest.
You saw those barrels. They could go anywhere.
Maybe that's why they animated them like that, to try and give us some semblance of a reason.
Just the smallest smidgen of visual storytelling.
Yeah, and they couldn't even manage that much. So Diddy shows up, and Baby Kong tosses the coconut to him, and they escape. And then, back at DK's house...
I love this part.
The Kremlings are all hiding in barrels and sneaking up to the treehouse. But then when they get there, they just, call out.
That's what made it so good. Because, what's his name? Clump?
Yes.
Clump. He says to his goons that the element of surprise is great. And then he just pops out and yells at him.
The art of camouflage, the element of surprise. Hello! Anybody home?
Yeah.
But the best part is, he's the only one that has come out of the barrel, and Diddy fully thinks that there aren't 3 other guys in the other barrel.
Yeah, he thinks he has an army of barrels.
until he hears them cock their guns.
But then doesn't he still just think the barrels are armed?
All I see is one fat loony lizard and a bunch of old barrels. Heavily armed barrels.
And they've got these claptrap guns again. They shoot teeny tiny termite-like claptraps.
Yeah, and they just eat the floor.
Yeah, which I guess ties back into the vacuum thing.
Does it?
Well, yeah, because they comment that the floor is dirty, so they're like, let's do the floor first.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I didn't even put 2 and 2 together.
No, good job, Nadine. You found some tenuous way to link the plot threads. So they chew a specific circle around DK and Diddy. Or sorry, Baby and Diddy. And they fall down through the floor just as the Kremlings get up to the treehouse.
Makes sense.
Which was all kind of for nothing. Because
Yeah.
K. Rool's still down under the treehouse anyway.
I guess it's a pretty bad strategy all around if you can't actually control where your termites are going to eat.
Yeah. K. Rool tries to bargain with the baby to get the crystal coconut from it. And then he tries to trick the baby into tossing it to him by pretending they're playing football. Neither of these things work, and they use up a lot of time.
Yeah.
He's going for a while.
I kind of liked the football part just because of how involved he got in the role play of it.
King Krool's back. He splits the defense. Cuts to the left. Fakes to the right. Throw long! Throw long! Baby Kong! I'm open! I'm open! I'm losing it!
He sure did, but it just went on for so long.
It went on for too long, for sure.
Yeah. I didn't dislike it. I was kind of over it by the time it was done.
Yeah, I was over it, but I think they did the best they could.
And when nothing he's trying works, K. Rool just starts yelling at the baby, who turns back into Donkey Kong during the yelling.
It was Donkey Kong the whole time!
I didn't even realize until now.
It was real subtle and nobody knew.
K. Rool immediately tries to de-escalate the situation and gets punched in the face. Did you notice, so in the next scene, we'd seen the last of the Kongs at this point. We're at the very end now.
Mm-hmm.
But in the final scene where K. Rool is, commiserating his loss, it looks like they've tried to give him a black eye, but they put all of it on the eyeball itself instead of on his face.
Yeah, they just gave him, black veins in his eye.
It was creepy.
It's weird.
And you can't even see it that well because of where they put the light source.
Yeah, when they zoom out, it's completely invisible.
Yeah, so his eyes in the shadow the whole time because the light source is, I think, directly above him. So you can't even really see the texture edit that they made. Which, it was wrong anyway. That's not how black eyes work.
Good job for nothing.
K-Rool decides to drink the youth potion that he somehow has.
This part was weird.
They didn't define at all how he got his hands on the youth potion. I guess we're to assume that he secretly stole it off screen while he was in Cranky's house.
Yeah, because it doesn't really make sense for him to have gotten that in the end, since Cranky had offered it to him on the condition he not kidnap him and steal the coconut.
Yeah, he'd already turned it down. But I don't know, maybe Cranky felt sorry for him at the end and gave it to him because he didn't want it anymore anyway.
I guess, but I thought DK drank it all.
Oh, did he? Good point. I didn't even think about that.
Maybe he left a little bit.
Maybe. But anyway, K-Rool drinks it. And then he becomes a baby. Except...
He's just small.
Yeah, they didn't make a baby model for him. They just shrank him down. Also, did you notice he shrinks down and then his crown doesn't shrink down.
Mm-hmm.
So then he's sitting inside of his crown.
With a crown on?
Except he's still wearing a teeny tiny shrunken crown as well.
Maybe it's like the king slime in Terraria. And even though it teleports away and leaves a crown behind, it still comes back with one on.
Every time K-Rool removes his crown, a new crown grows.
I just want to wear a sun hat for once.
Maybe that's the source of all his fortune, selling all the new crowns that he can create by removing his.
He would have flooded the market by now.
That's true. Well, that's the end.
We beat it.
We beat it. How did you feel about this episode?
It's fine.
Yeah, it's nothing special, but it might be my favorite one that we've watched.
I think so too. Like, I feel like it had more high points than low points.
Yeah, it didn't have any of the real low points that the other two we watched had, like Donkey Kong's nightmarish shaved head. And although Diddy did sing in this episode, he didn't sing for as long as he did in the other one.
Yeah, it was a pretty short one. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. And like I remember the big problem I had with Kong for a Day was that all of DK's friends felt unreasonable the whole episode.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that problem this time.
No, the writing was better.
Yeah, all of the characters felt like I even liked Candy more in this episode because this is the first time we've seen Candy
not be angry.
Yeah, she's in both the other episodes we watched. She was just constantly angry all the way through, or a robot.
You're either angry or a robot. There's no in between.
So I thought for sure when Diddy was asking her to babysit the baby, I thought for sure she was just going to be angry and mean about it.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not. She's just like, yeah, okay, of course I can watch the baby. That's fine.
Yeah, she genuinely likes the baby.
Yeah, it was nice to see Candy acting like a person. So,
the legacy?
Do you want to ask me about the legacy?
The legacy? You gonna give me the legacy?
You think there's a legacy of this episode?
Can you give me that baby Kong?
You think that this episode has any kind of legacy?
You think that they would give us a tiny Kong? A teeny tiny baby Kong?
So Baby Kong appeared on merchandise in Japan.
Why?
I don't know, but there's like artwork from trading cards and stuff.
Weird.
But that's not even the weirdest thing.
Okay.
Later on in the show, Baby Kong appears again.
Like, separate from Donkey Kong?
This time he appears alongside Donkey Kong as Donkey Kong's nephew.
Okay.
Which they explicitly said he didn't have in this episode.
Yes.
And there is no explanation given.
Oh, good. Great.
Yeah, he just comes back as DK's nephew. For real.
He came from an alternate dimension. The dimensions have merged. Reality has intertwined. And now they both exist.
So there's two scenarios that I am picturing where this could happen. Scenario one, they decided later on in the season that actually giving him a baby nephew is a good idea, and they were just going to hope that nobody remembered
Right.
what happened in this episode.
Who keeps up with the lore of this show?
Or option two, somebody on the writing staff half knew what this episode was about and misunderstood and thought that Baby Kong really was Donkey Kong's nephew. And then just decided to write another episode using him.
Either way.
I don't know which one of those scenarios I want to be true the most.
I want the latter to be true.
Yeah, you want it to just be a genuine mistake.
Yes. I want it to be like a bad translator episode.
Yeah, I think I would prefer that too, actually. Well, we did it. You can stop asking me to let you watch Donkey Kong Country again.
I will never.
For a while. I know.
Every time you ask me.
For anybody wondering, this episode came about because I asked Mel what she would like to watch next.
It's always Donkey Kong, baby. I don't know why. It's just the first show that always comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, it's explicitly because I said we should cover something we've already covered before, because I don't have a lot of time to do the research for a new show right now. And this was what you wanted.
Mm-hmm. It's always what I want.
I'm picking the next one.
Fine.
I'm pretty sure you demanded Sonic Underground as well, thinking about it.
That sounds like something I'd do.
All right, next week we'll be doing something else. Sorry, Donkey Kong Country fans, but this is not... I'm not going to let Mel turn this into the Donkey Kong Country podcast.
You'll give up one of these days.
That's not what our show is.
You have two options, Donkey Kong Country Podcast or F-Zero Podcast, and we're leading heavily into Donkey Kong Country.
We sure are. This is our most covered single show, I think. No, it's equal with Pokemon.
Pokemon. I hate that show. I hate Pokemon. Let's go back to Donkey Kong.
For context, Mel has been playing Pokemon Violet for about 4 days straight.
We had to stop playing it to record this.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you'd like to kick money at us from a high height,
like sand in our eyes,
then please head to Please head to patreon.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub, where you can find stuff that I cut out of the show and put there instead.
Neat stuff to listen to. Thank you, Jamie Core, for being our single Patreon subscriber right now. We appreciate you. We deeply do. I was going to say something else, but I was like, maybe I shouldn't make it too weird and parasocial. Let's not encourage that too heavily.
And thanks to anyone else who may join in between this recording and us releasing this episode.
Join the ranks of Jamie in the Great Hall of Champions.
Wink, wink. Also, coffee.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub is a thing. I'm on the internet. I'm Skull Pirate Mike. You can find me in places where Skull Pirate Mike is signed up to.
You can find me sometimes under rocks, in dark corners, and in damp places.
Check all of those.
Don't forget to tap your shoes before putting them on, because I might be in there.
Tap your shoes and ring that bell.
What's the bell do?
It alerts you that there's someone nearby.
If you're going to be walking around, make sure that you have bells on your shoes so that you won't startle me.
And so that Mel can get away before you arrive.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to you. People weird me out.
Is there anything else?
Donkey Kong.
Bye. Banana Slammer.
This is a pretty good theme song. I don't think it's Wild Vision good, but it's definitely up there.